Hello, and welcome to Joyful Eating episode number 143. So today we are going to be talking about the one tiny question, seriously, just one, to help you enjoy the holidays without the usual weight gain. So I'm really excited to share this one question with you that is going to might just change your life. But before we get to that, the best bite I had, gosh, I haven't recorded an episode in such a long time because I was traveling and I recorded a heap before we went. And I was just thinking, oh my goodness, there's been so many delicious things, but on my travels. But I think my best bite that I wanted to share with you was Sunday night back home, and went back to the farmer's market on Saturday and got like a chook from Brad, my farmer, chicken farmer. And yeah, like my Irishman. So I brined it, which is where you like soak it in a salt solution overnight. And then my Irishman roasted it in the wood-fired oven. And it was just perfection. Like it was just smoky, but not too smoky, like crispy skin, amazing, like tender breast, succulent, like just everything you could want in a in roast chicken. And we just served it really simply with, I was going to use mayonnaise, but it didn't need it. So I ended up just serving it with Parisian carrot salad. So I should like a grated carrot salad with dates and roast pistachios and just some fresh herbs with it. And it was just like the whole combo. It was just so good. Anyway, enough about food. Let's talk about food. Okay, so our plan for today is I'll just share the story behind this episode as always, and then why one question can make a difference to your experience of eating and to whether you gain weight or not over the holidays. And then what is this magical question that's going to help you? And also how to use the question. And then I've also got 3 bonus tips to help you enjoy your food more this holiday season. So the story behind this episode is I usually, like, it's coming into the holidays, people are thinking about eating and enjoying eating, which I love. So joyful eating is all about. But there's also usually this like undercurrent of, oh yeah, overeating and like that kind of not so great side to it. And the thing is that the overeating part is optional, and we can actually have so much enjoyment and feel really satisfied and have a really beautiful time without feeling stuffed. And of course, if you really love that stuff feeling on Thanksgiving Day, like go for it. But what we want to do is be intentional about it. And so what like every year I do an episode about the holidays, and it's like it's time for the holiday episode. So that's it. And so but there's one question that I've been using in my coaching groups that has really transformed my life, but also the lives of my clients in terms of being able to make intentional choices. And why this is really helpful is because when we make intentional choices, we are using the best part of our brain. So we have different parts of our brain that think in different ways, and our prefrontal cortex is the bit at the front here. That's the bit that is the most evolved, and it's the only part of our brain that can think about the future and think about planning and like future consequences of our actions now. And so when we make intentional choices, we use that part of our brain, which means that we tend to make different choices than if we're just running on autopilot. And the other way that we can be making choices is like using the more emotional, more primitive part of our brain, which can't think about future consequences. It only lives in the present moment. So it's always just thinking about seeking pleasure and avoiding pain. And so we have like what we want to do in order to make intentional choices, and why this is so like why I guess really why making intentional choices is important is because when we're intentional with our choices, we get the best of both worlds. So we get to like make choices that mean that we get enjoyment now, but that we also don't have this massive downside later, because we're going to take care of our future selves as well. And this is like really like the crux of all the work that I do, is like finding this balance between having enjoyment now and feeling good later. And rather than it being an all or nothing thing where we're punishing ourselves and restricting now, or we're like just completely overindulging, it helps us find this middle ground where we get to enjoy things and we don't like, we're not going to like, going too mental with it. And so in order to make intentional choices, like there's a heap of different ways you can do this, but the one question that I've found, so that's why is this like, and so why this question makes a difference is because it helps us make intentional choices. And so what is the one magic question, Jules? And so the one question that I use all the time these days is, how do I want this to go? And so it can be when I'm thinking through my whole day, how do I want this to go? And I think through, like I have I call it my daily practice, where first thing in the morning, I just plan out my day and think through, okay, I'm going to be having lunch, I'm going to have a snack here, I'm going to have dinner, whatever. And I actually decide, like, usually during that session, like what I'm actually going to be eating. But yeah, I'm just asking myself, how do I want my day to go? And then, but then I also use it in the moment. So say so like something unexpected comes up, and someone offers me a cookie that I'm not expecting. I'm like, oh, how do I want this to go? Or say, an example that happened to me recently, our flight was delayed, so we're in the lounge and we're going to be like, it's going to be too like later to eat on the plane, and there's all this food in the lounge, and I'm like, well, how do I want this to go? Rather than just going, oh, free food, meant go crazy, I actually thought it through of like, oh yeah, how do I want this to go? And it's just using it to just how to use it is just anytime you're interacting, like faced with a food choice, just checking in with, how do I want this to go? Like, what do I want this to be like? And it's mad. Like, it just gets you to figure out, like, gets you to make choices that are in this, like, from this intentional place where it's like, yes, I'm getting enjoyment now, and I'm not going to feel gross later. And it's really that's the simplicity of it. And so that's how we use it. Just whenever you're making a choice about food, how do I want this to go? Or maybe I've used it where, like, the other day I was in the kitchen and I'd been snacking and picking at things, and I was like, which I normally don't do that much these days, but I'd kind of jet lagged, blah blah blah. And so I caught myself and I was like, actually, this isn't feeling great. How do I want this to go now? And so I was like, actually, you know what? I'm going to make a cup of tea. I'm going to just stop doing this picking, and I'm going to save the rest, what's left of my stomach space, for dinner. And I did that. But if I hadn't have asked myself that question, I could have just continued like randomly grazing on stuff and felt really gross later. So that's how you use the question. How do I want this to go? How do you use it? Whenever you think, and you can use it for more than food too. Like, I've been like, you can use it for, thinking through your work day and thinking through what you want to be working on. You could use it when you think about exercise. Like, it's so many ways you can use it. But yeah, I really encourage you to experiment with using this holiday, like using this question in the holiday. So if there's only one thing that you change, like, I would really invite you to just set that intention of, yeah, I'm just going to keep asking myself, how do I want this to go? Like, Thanksgiving morning, how do I want the day to go? When you've like just about to sit down to Thanksgiving meal, like lunch, or dinner, how do I want this to go? And just experience for yourself what a difference it can make when you're baking your Halloween cookies. Like, how do I want this to go? It's so Halloween cookies, your holiday cookies. Yeah, use it all the time. You can't overuse it. And seriously, it's a miracle worker. And then before we go, I've got 3 bonus tips to help you enjoy your food more this year. So tip number 1 is to let yourself look forward to things and actually give yourself the gift of anticipation, because we get pleasure when we are eating things, but we also get pleasure, and dopamine gets released when we're thinking about eating something enjoyable. So why not double your pleasure and actually give yourself permission? So write a list. What are all the holiday treats that you're really excited to have? Like, what are the things that you're really looking forward to this year? And let yourself look forward to them and plan in, when are you going to have it? Like those little, cookies, whatever, like whatever it is, like give yourself that enjoy the anticipation, and give yourself that permission to have it. My tip number 2 for you of my 3 tips is to just remember to slow down. And whenever you're eating, like particularly at a big celebration feast, just before you start eating, just remind yourself there's no rush, and just take your time and savor. And I guarantee you'll enjoy your meal so much more, and you're way less likely. And there's a bonus point, a bonus side benefit. You'll way less likely to like completely overindulge. So yeah, there's no rush is a beautiful thought. And then the third one is my third tip for you is to actually choose an abundance mindset. And what I mean by that is to go into this holiday period, setting that intention that in January, you're not going to do the whole, crackdown of like, no good food anymore, that you're not going to turn into like a restriction. Actually set that intention is like, this January I'm going to, and you can change your mind about this, but this January I'm not going to restrict. I'm not going to go on any crazy diets. And because the thing is, if you're going into the holidays with this looming like, I'm only going to be eating salad for the rest of my life thought in the back of your mind, your brain, that's going to stoke your psychological hunger for all the treats. And it's going to make you overeat more. Whereas if you're going into the holidays thinking, there's going to be plenty of amazing food in my future, I'm going to have like lovely, delicious things in January, and you're letting yourself plan the, ice cream that you're going to be having in January, then you're way less likely to do that whole kind of last supper eating during the holidays. Okay, hope you have a fantastic holiday season. And if you celebrate Thanksgiving, enjoy celebrating with your friends, family, whoever you're celebrating with. And thank you so much for listening to Joyful Eating. I really appreciate you. And if you've got value from this podcast, I really invite you to share this episode or share the podcast with a friend, whether that's sending them an email, sending them a screenshot, just because the more people that are bringing joy and like fun and deliciousness and not restricting, and the opposite of restriction into their relationship with food, the better place the world's going to be. So have a fantastic week, and I will see you next week.